Previously on the last Pokémon Crystal challenge run. And we're going, yeah, give us your money, mate. And coming up, it's genuinely being mean at this point. Welcome back to 4 Moves. This is the series where we grab a Pokemon, we give it 4 moves from the beginning of the challenge, we put it against the clock, and we see just how long it takes us to defeat Red. And today we are going to be running CORSOLA. CORSOLA's got a tradition of being a first Pokemon here on the channel, not because it's first on the leaderboard, because it was the first Pokemon we ran all the way at the beginning of the channel, and for the last couple of years it's also been the first Pokemon we've run each year. So CORSOLA is going to be setting the standard for this year's challenges, and we will now take a look at what moves we're deciding to give for our CORSOLA. Now the first move I think is going to be fairly obvious. We're going to give it Surf. I think Surf is going to be a very, very useful move, obviously a stab move, going off our slightly better special attacking stat as opposed to our physical attacking stat. The next one, again, it's going to be obvious. We are going to go for Ice Beam. Ice Beam is brilliant coverage against the grass type, which of course we do have a 4 times weakness to. And now for move number 3, I've decided on Earthquake. Earthquake is an all-around very useful move to have, and now the last move I think is going to be slightly controversial. I've decided to go for Psychic. Psychic is going to provide coverage against the fighting type. Now we are going to be weak against the fighting type, but I think Psychic is going to be our best way of getting through. It's also going to give us a chance to drop special defense on some of the tougher opponents. And now, very quickly before we get into the challenge, I am going to reorder these moves into something that makes a little bit more sense for me. So we've got Surf, our main stab move, Psychic for the fightings and to lower special defense, Earthquake is a good all-round physical move, and Ice Beam for the dragons, for the flyers, and for the grass. And with that, should we take a look at our stats before getting into this one? We are level 5 with 22 HP. We're also Pokemon 222, so it's all the 2s there. We are holding a berry, of course, with Surf, Psychic, Earthquake, and Ice Beam. 12 in attack, 15 in defense, 13 in special attack, 15 in special defense, but just 10 in speed. This is the CORSOLA we are going to be running. I wonder how long it will take us to complete the challenge. There's only one way to find out. And that is, of course, to start this challenge. Let us get underway and see just how long it takes us to defeat Red with our CORSOLA. I really have a soft spot for CORSOLA. Ever since that first challenge, a very, very dear person to me, Claudio, asked me to try and defeat Pokémon Crystal with just a CORSOLA all the way back in 2022, and set off the chain reaction of events that caused this channel into being. So I'm forever grateful to him for that. And I will always hold a special soft spot for our CORSOLA. Now, I do want to give you a quick update on the state of the series that we've got here on the channel. We are going through a bit of a transition phase at the moment. We are resting a lot of the old series. I think I mentioned it just before Christmas, but a couple of the series are going on indefinite hiatus. We are carrying on with Supermon, although I don't have the time to do Supermon at the moment. Unfortunately, because of family illness circumstances, I don't know how long I've got to record each day. So I'm taking each video as it comes at the moment and trying to get it out in a reasonable amount of time. And of course, because we only have one chance with Supermon, I can't at the moment justify to myself sitting down for a recording session and potentially losing a run very, very deep in with a lot of time already committed to the run. So Supermon will be coming back hopefully later on in this month. It will definitely be back by February though. I'll probably do a couple of live streams just to get myself back into the swing of things with Supermon. And now with this challenge, I think we're going to do fairly well considering our stats. We do always have to remember that we're not going to be the quickest Pokemon through the challenge with CORSOLA's base stats. That is, of course, why they gave it a regional evolution and a new form in Generation 8, something that I think we ran together on the channel a very long time ago, actually. I must get that one re-backported onto the challenge run base. I've still got all the assets, and now, with me being a little bit more skilled than I used to be with creating backports, I reckon we could have a very fun run on our hands. But at the moment, the streams are going to be focused on Generation 3 backports. We have almost the entire Gen 3 decks backported into Generation 2. So throughout the first part of this year, most if not all of our challenge run streams, so our solo run streams, are going to be focused on getting a full Generation 3 leaderboard fully fleshed out. There are going to be some great Pokemon in there, and there are going to be some stinkers as well. And I can't wait to see just which Generation 3 Pokemon would have been best in Generation 2. Of course, Zangoose and Kyogre are going to be up there as potential contenders, but you know what, I think any Pokemon, barring maybe some of the weaker bugs, stands a chance of being in the top 10 at the very least. Now, I am going to be going to try and get as much experience as possible in the early game on this challenge, because we do have a couple of nasty gyms coming up, and I'm also going to be picking up a bunch of items to sell for vitamins, because I reckon that is going to be our key to victory throughout the course of this challenge, or should we say throughout the CORSOLA of this challenge. Now, we do have the type advantage over the flying type, but of course, if you cast your minds back all the way to 2022, we had an absolute nightmare at Falkner with our first ever challenge run. We spent very, very, very long amounts of time getting mudslapped to the face, so I really hope we don't get a repeat of that this time. Let's engage him in battle at the 4-minute mark and we'll see how we do. This is Falkner, a flying type specialist who leads with Pidgey. It's a one-shot on the Pidgey, and it should hopefully be a two-shot on the Pidgeotto, providing that we can hit our next Ice Beam. Yes, we can. We don't even consume our berry, and that feels very good for our CORSOLA. 4 minutes and 20 seconds through the Falkner split. Now, that isn't a like-for-like comparison. We didn't have any good moves at all when we were facing Falkner last time, but we will still take that as an absolute victory. We get the escape rope here, and we can make our way now down towards the Union Cave. Gonna get the Prosecure Berry. I'm not sure if we're gonna need it on this challenge, but it's always useful to pick up at least one Prosecure Berry, because there are several battles actually where it could come in fairly useful. Now, on the way down to Azalea, I'm going to take on some of the easier trainers, and I think we'll be able to do most of the trainers in Union Cave as well, so we don't need to worry too much about our experience points. Now, this repel is the bane of my existence actually in challenge running, because it's a bit of a double-edged sword. You go and get that repel to save time in the Union Cave, but worst case scenario, you get 2 encounters just for trying to avoid encounters, which is a little bit counterintuitive. I didn't mean to bump into this guy, but we should be able to knock him out in a 1 with a Surf. Of course, Surf is neutral to Wooper. And now we're already at the Union Cave. We're making very good time. The only trainer we didn't take on in the Union Cave there was the trainer with the Slowpoke, because I don't think that would have been a sensible battle to take on. But we are very much feeling the benefits of the fast experience group at the moment. Look at that, we're already at level 15 as we enter into Azalea Town for the first time. I'm still getting used to not catching the HM friends in the challenges. The HM friends will always be dear to us. We'll be seeing the brand new HM friends in a Generation 3 setting of Kanto a little bit later on this month, but for our Gen 2 challenges, we are saying goodbye to them, at least temporarily, although more likely to be a permanent goodbye to catching them. We'll still always think about them each and every challenge though, and now I don't think Team Rocket's going to be any problem at all for us in this particular challenge, at least here in the Slowpoke Well. We can two-shot the coughing away. And now we'll have a little chat with Kurt. His back is mysteriously and miraculously healed. We can make our way in to our second gym together. This is, of course, Bugsy's Bug-type gym. And again, I think it's going to be worth us doing most of the trainers in this gym. We are in the fast experience group, so we can get a lot of early levels. And with Rival 2 being such a big obstacle for our CORSOLA, I reckon getting as much experience points under our belt as we can before taking on the second rival battle is going to be sensible, because we are, of course, 4 times weak to the grass type, and he actually has a grass type move this time, so he's a little bit terrifying, isn't he? We've done full trainers now, though. We will take Bugsy on. He is going to be our second gym leader together today, a bug type specialist, of course. leads with a Metapod, and if we one-shot the Metapod, we know that we are going to one-shot the Kakuna, but we've got a pesky little Scyther in the way to get us in between those two, and then let us use a Surf on the Kakuna there. Nice and easy Bugsy battle in a time of 9 minutes and 28 seconds. And now the brain fog is kicking in a little bit. I've noticed I'm stumbling over my words ever so slightly, but hopefully I will wake up properly. It's very early in the morning, actually. It's about 5 o'clock in the morning as I'm recording this one, on the day that it's due to be released. We'll see if it does come out on the day it's due to be released, but that is the plan. Reflect Air is good, Razor Leaf is bad. So, as long as he goes for Reflect, and as long as he doesn't crit, we should be able to get through this one. I think that is the plan anyway. A freeze would be nice. We can't survive 2, unfortunately. So we are playing for the Reflect. It was just Duff RNG there with the crits. This is going to be one of our harder battles for a very long time. Poison Powder's great. Growl's even better. We are hopefully getting now a damageless rival number 2. There we go. We just had to wait for his AI to be a little bit dense, didn't we? And that's eventually what happened, and that means we can get our way into the forest now, where the only thing we've got to do is reunite Farfetch with its humans so that we can get the Scythe, so we can get through, what, 2 cut trees, maybe 3 in the entire course of this challenge. And now, because we are at the start of the year, at least at the time of recording this video, I like to do a little bit of reflection at the beginning of each year, especially since starting YouTube, to think, what went well, what didn't go so well, what can I change this year to try and make the upcoming 12 months even better than the last 12 months. And I think the big thing for me this year is going to be focusing on having fun again. I quite often get caught in the nitty-gritty of the YouTube cycle. It's one of those things, I think if you're inclined to do YouTube, you're inevitably going to be bound by the nitty-gritty of the YouTube. It's just trying to get yourself out of that mindset and trying to stop comparing yourselves, not just to other people, but to previous years as well. And this year I'm going to focus on just having fun and doing the challenges I want to do, because I think if I do the challenges I want to do, you're all going to want to see them anyway, because I'm having fun doing them, which is why I'm doing CORSOLA at the very beginning of this year again. I really do enjoy this particular line. It's a very tricky Pokemon to get to grips with, but I think the reward at the very end of defeating Red with CORSOLA is fairly unrivaled, actually, in Generation 2. And now I think one of the big things I'm going to try and do this year is to not put quite as much pressure on myself at all times. My brain is a little bit like a pressure cooker. I'm always trying to push myself harder and harder, with quite often unintended consequences. So I'm going to try, and emphasis on the word try, because self-improvement is always going to be a long process. I'm going to try and allow myself to be switched off a little bit from time to time this year. Not all the time, but enough to give myself that mental breathing room when I need it. Because goodness me, sometimes you do need to give yourself that little bit of a mental break, and you don't realise it until you are too deep in what you are doing. And the other thing is I'm going to try and stop masking quite so much. Those of you who are neurodiverse will know all about masking, and I've been doing it pretty constantly for 20, 30 years at this point. So I'm going to try and bring the masking levels down and just try and be myself again, because it's okay to be myself. Let us now take on our next gym leader. This is Whitney. She shouldn't be too much of a problem at all. 3 hits in total, defeats Whitney, and we will now get her badge in a time of 15 minutes and 36 seconds. That is not bad at all for CORSOLA. Of course, Surf is doing a lot of the legwork at the moment. That brilliant stab move, I think at the moment it's base 142 power. Do correct me if I'm wrong, that is very quick mental maths, but I think that's how much it is worth at the moment with our stab, of course. And now we can get ourselves out of Goldenrod. Didn't get caught by Juggler Irwin, and we can go and irritate that pesky tree that has been blocking our way towards Ecruteak City. Now, I am going to take this one on, just to see if we can one-shot it, and we can. Absolutely fantastic. Now, I do think we are going to benefit from going up the lighthouse, just so that we can try and get a little bit more defense in time for rival number 3. So we're going to do a very, very quick fly through here of Ecruteak City. And then after chatting with the burly man to get ourselves his phone number so he can move boulders for us, and doing a very quick hill here in the Pokemon Center, we will ascend the lighthouse. As many levels as we can get before the rival battle is what we should do, because of course he is going to hit very, very hard. So we've got to make sure that we can strike back even harder. Now, I'm actually weighing up the pros and cons at the moment of taking on the Kimono Girls before taking on the rival to get a couple of extra levels on top. It might be worth it, you know. The Kimono Girls should be fairly easy to defeat. We've got to move for every single one of them that will at least hit neutrally, so I don't think it will be too much of a time loss to do the extra, 5 seconds of cycling each way, and it could prove to be our answer to getting through fairly easily, because those Kimono Girls are of course all fully evolved Pokemon, so we have a lot of experience waiting to be unlocked for us. I don't think it's worth going all the way to the lake and doing the Bill cutscene in Ecruteak Pokemon Center. However, I do think it might be worth going and grabbing the extra experience points over at the Kimono Girls. And I'm also thinking, do I want to take on this bird keeper here and get ourselves the Swagger TM? Not to use, of course, because we can't learn any moves, but it would be good money for selling so that we can get some more vitamins, and I think vitamins are going to be crucial in this challenge. So let's now escape rope out. We'll do another very quick hill here for PP purposes in the Pokemon Center, and we'll get on the bike and make our way back to Ecruteak, where we're going to go straight into the Kimono Girls Dance Theatre. Look at that. Very, very smooth movement right up until the door. Let's take them on. And now I am thinking this was a wise choice to do the Kimono Girls, because we're able to knock most of them out in 1 or 2 hits, and we seem to be getting an extra couple of levels out of them. We only have the Jolteon left to go. We will use an Earthquake. We took a little bit of damage, but we do now get the Raft. That's going to mean that we can cross the open seas in just a few moments, and I think we'll use a very quick potion and a repel while we're in the bag, and we'll go into the Burnt Tower now, or at least we would if we weren't being pestered by the bike shop. Goodness me, they must have very advanced GPS tracking, actually, considering this was released in 2000. Let us now take on rival number 3, hopefully being level 32 will be enough to see us through. We don't outspeed the Haunter, so we are now on a clock for the rest of the battle. We'll use the Surf against the Magnemite, no need to use Earthquake. Now, do we one-shot the Bayleaf? Yes, we do. That crit, though, could have mattered. We'll swap to Surf for the Zubat, and we did get through on our first attempt, so I'm feeling fairly vindicated, actually, about taking on the Kimono Girls first. That does mean we can now fall through the floor, and we can take on Morty next. And before we get to Morty, we do have one more gym trainer to take on. This has been a fairly easy gym. My only worry, you know, is our speed stat. I think that could end up causing a reset or two. We are going to try and mitigate our speed stat a little bit by holding on to a mint berry so that if we get sent to sleep, we will wake up instantly, but that might not be the full solution to this battle. We will now, however, take Morty on. He leads with Ghastly. Ghastly's easy. We can one-shot it away. Here comes the Haunter. We outspeed the Haunter. That means that we can use our Mint Berry on the Gengar if we need to, but Hypnosis did miss. We'll use another Earthquake against the Haunter, and we have defeated Morty, and we obtain the Fog Badge in a time of 23 minutes and 50 seconds. The timer there having a little bit of a weird moment, but we did get it in 23 minutes and 50 seconds in the end, and that means we can now start heading towards the Lake of Rage. And of course, here at the lake, we're taking on our favourite Pokemaniacs with the Nidos. We took on the one in Mount Mortar, and we take on Ron there. And now we will try and defeat this Gyarados. We have Ice Beam, which will run neutral against this Gyarados, so hopefully we'll be able to get a couple of good hits in. It's locked itself into Thrash. That's probably the best it could do for us, because we resist Thrash, and there we go, we get the red scale. We can have a little chat with Lance if we don't accidentally bypass him, and that means we can now do the rest of the bits that we need to do here at the lake, making use of one of our final regular repels. I don't want to take on any more Pokemon until we heal now, so it is just going to be about getting the items. We're going to get the full restore, and then we're also going to get the rare candy. And I think today we will go and grab the TMs, because I do want to try and make as much Cash Money Moolah as possible in the course of this challenge, because every single time we gain money, that gives us an extra chance of another vitamin. So combining all of these little extra things could give us that little bit of an extra boost towards the end of the challenge, where our low stats are going to be coming into play. At the moment, we're doing fairly well. Our experience group is carrying us, but the further through the challenge we get, especially with trainers such as Blue and Red, we are going to be seeing quite the opposite effect, where our low stats are going to be more at the forefront as opposed to our experience group at the moment. Now we have struck land, we've spoken to the bloke in the dodgy shop, and that means we can go into our next gym. We do have the type disadvantage to the fighting type, and our defences can only go so far. That jump kick did a fair amount of damage there, so let's hope that we don't take quite as much damage off the Hitmonchan. He went for Comet Punch. He's a little bit daft, is Lau. Of course, all the black belts actually share the same AI, and that AI is just pick a move and hope for the best. As far as I can tell, they don't have any kind of decision making when it comes to the moves. They are ostensibly like battling wild Pokemon, so you can quite often actually get a bit of an easier ride through the black belts than you would otherwise deserve. We do have just one last black belt though, and then we are going to be facing good old Chuck, and unfortunately for us, he has Gym Leader AI, so he kind of knows what he's doing, which is a little bit of a shame. I wish he was as bad as the black belts, because this is a place where we have come unstuck many times in the past. Chuck is our 5th gym leader together today, a fighting type specialist, leads with Primeape. We don't outspeed the Primeape, we take some Karate Chop damage, but we should be able to outspeed the Poliwrath, and we get the 2-shot. Goodness me, what a good battle there for our CORSOLA, getting ourselves the next badge, the Storm badge in fact, in 28 minutes and 27 seconds. We now have access to the air balloon. That means that I've got a little bit of housekeeping I want to get on with before we choose who to take on next. And that's everything picked up for another challenge. I reckon, we're going to go straight up the lighthouse, and we're going to take on Jasmine next. She does have the type advantage over the rock type, but water does resist the steel type, so at most Iron Tail is going to hit us neutrally, and we've got something super effective for all of her Pokemon, so I don't think we're going to be in much danger at all. Facing Jasmine next, and it does make the movement a little bit more efficient, because after we've defeated Price, we can go straight to Blackthorn City. We've got a long way to go until we get to Price though, and our first part of getting through is by taking on Jasmine. A Steel-type specialist leads with Magnemite. We don't even need to use Earthquake against these. And do we one-shot the Steelix? We do one-shot the Steelix, growing up to level 40. That gets us the Mineral Badge in a time of 31 minutes and 13 seconds. And with that, we will fly over to Mahogany Town next, where for me it's the rocket section, but as always I'm not going to make you sit through this. Let us skip ahead to the very end of it. And that is the Mahogany Underground done and dusted for another challenge. We get the Bath Plug. That means that we can go through the single mandatory whirlpool of this challenge. We might end up going through a second one as well, depending on whether I pick up the extra rare candy. But that does mean we can now go into our next gym together. This is going to be Price's Ice-type gym, and I don't think we're going to have any issues at all here. We resist the Ice type, and we have fairly good moves for Price. I don't think we're going to need too many Surfs. I'm holding on to 2 Surfs just in case for the Piloswine, but I have a feeling it will go down in one. Now we're going to use Psychic against the Seal. Icy Wind means nothing. We're slow anyway, and it doesn't do much damage at all. We'll Surf on the Piloswine, get rid of it in one shot, and then maybe a pair of Earthquake or 2 on the Dugong. It's gone to sleep. That means we can just knock it out with 2 further hits, and we defeat Price to obtain the Glacier badge in 36 minutes and 5 seconds. Very, very good stuff from our CORSOLA. We are on a much better pace than we ever have been with CORSOLA before, which is lending me to think, at least at the moment, that a lot of CORSOLA's issues comes from its fairly bad early game learn set. The moves, by the way, on the move list are in order which you will learn them via level up first, then we've got the TMs, then we've got the extra egg moves and any Gen 1 TMs if it's a Gen 1 Pokemon. And as we can see for CORSOLA, those early game moves are not great. I think the only good-ish early move is Ancient Power. Now, I was debating actually getting Ancient Power in this challenge for the Omni Boost, but I thought that overall Psychic would have been a better choice, because I think focusing on our special attack, which is what I did do during the item picking up phase, I went and bought 7 calcium in total, maxed out our special attack in terms of vitamins. I thought focusing on that will give us a better chance of getting through some of the fighting type trainers, because Bruno, believe it or not, could be a very big threat in this challenge. And now we are through the ice path. That was a fairly clean, actually, ice path, considering how badly I have played it in recent times. We'll get ourselves 12 max repels here. And then there are a couple of items down this end of Blackthorn that I do like picking up. The Elixir being one of them. I always get caught by her. No matter what I do, I just can't get my timing right with her. But we do want to get the Nugget, and then I've forgotten the movement here. Goodness me. That's it, we go this way to get ourselves the PP up. And with that, it's time to go to Goldenrod. I don't want to go to Goldenrod, but we have to go to Goldenrod because it is time for the 4th rival battle. Hopefully we won't have too many issues here at the 4th rival battle. Now, I am very, very slow to the party here, but one of the things I think that makes the rival incredibly trivial is the fact that his team doesn't change depending on which starter you pick. So quite often, you'll end up with an easy ride because he has no team diversity whatsoever, and I appreciate that is part of his storyline arc, but it does make him a little bit of a pest more than anything else. Look at this, we're going to have a very easy Rival 4 here. His AI caused the switch, which had inevitably made us get through a lot easier, so he was trying to be smart, but in the end just ended up failing miserably. Now, during that rocket section, because there's not much more to do, I let my mind wander and I was thinking about our main series leaderboard, and I'm wondering, is it worth me actually opening up that main series leaderboard to all the Pokemon? So, middle stages as well as our first stage Pokemon as well. I think it would be nice to get a full set of Pokemon. Of course, it's going to be a lot more work for that leaderboard, but it does mean as well I can delay some of the Pokemon I really don't want to do, because some of them are absolutely horrible coming up and I don't want to do them, but that is just kicking the can down the road. I do have some Pokemon coming up that are probably going to stretch into the 3+ hours. Yet again, we've not had a 3-hour run for quite some time. I think we are well overdue, and in fact one of the next ones I'm due to record, whether it'll be one of the next ones out is a different matter, but one of the next ones I'm due to record is Lickitung, and that one I've done once before, and it was such a terrible challenge actually that it sat on my editing pile for so long, and by the time I got round to editing I thought, no, I can't release this video. Routing had changed, overlay had changed twice at that point, so I do have to do another Lickitung challenge. That was way back in 2022 though. And in fact, before I started the challenge runs here on YouTube, I did actually do a Lickitung challenge in my spare time because I hate fun. And it didn't go well. It went about as quickly as you would expect. I think I ended up with 255 resets on that one. Of course, I was a lot less experienced than I am now, but Lickitung is not a great Pokemon for solo running, which is why now I'm kind of tentatively excited to run it, because I want to see just how bad it is. I don't think it's going to be quite on the level of Shuckle and Magcargo, but I reckon the old Fortress time of 3 hours something is definitely where I'm expecting it to go. We do have another couple of challenges before then, though. I do believe I've not got my schedule up as I'm saying this, and of course everything is recorded live on these videos, so I don't have the opportunity to check until we do another clip. And so another clip is exactly what we'll do. We have one challenge left to record after this CORSOLA before I have to try and sink my teeth into the Lickitung challenge. I don't know how well it will go, but I will have a little bit of a think on strategies before taking it on. It's one of very few challenges actually where I do think a tiny bit of pre-planning will come in handy. Now we do have one more rocket to take care of here at the very top of the radio tower, and yet again we're going to have a very easy battle. We might not, I was going to say we might not outspeed the Houndoom, but we did get the outspeed either via natural numbers or the Quick Claw. Now that does mean we are free from Goldenrod for another challenge. I don't know why I'm picking up the pink bow. We don't have a normal type move. I am going to do another very quick vitamin shop though before we go in to Blackthorn. So I am going to pick up a couple of extra items to sell, and we will get the radio card. It is of course 11212. The answer to both of the questionnaires here in Pokémon Crystal. Now I am going to go into the department store in the Pokémon Center to get some vitamins, and then we'll skip ahead to Blackthorn. And that's the vitamin shop done for another challenge. I decided to max out our attack and defense, so we now have maxed out attack, defense, and special. I thought that our speed would be a little bit of a lost cause. And this isn't Claire. Why on earth has that come up? Let's see, do we outspeed this Dragonair? Yes, we do. That's one load off my mind at least. If we can outspeed the Dragonair, then we should have a fairly simple time at Claire. We just have to get through Lola first, and Lola's not a particularly tricky trainer, although she does help us get up to level 52. Now, I am going to hold on to the Quick Claw just in case, and here's Claire's actual title card. Let's now take her on. She leads with Dragonair. We one-shot the first. Out comes another. Are we Quick Clawing, or are we actually outspeeding? I don't know. I'm going to assume that we are outspeeding. And now for the Kingdra, I think we're just going to use a pair of Ice Beam. In fact, we're going to have to use a trio of Ice Beam because we got a high roll. Well, we didn't get a high roll. We got a crit, didn't we? Goodness me. That is Claire defeated, though, in a very easy battle. We now have to leave here, and we take on everyone's favourite nasty, nasty little man. It is, of course, Cool Trainer Daryl. Now, we don't have anything to one-shot at this point because we're out of Ice Beam PP, so we'll use a pair of Earthquake, and I'm going to pick up that Calcium because I might end up needing to sell it for some full restores because we're very, very poor now. We spent all of our money there in Goldenrod's department store. We do need to now answer this next questionnaire. Again, it's going to be 11212. And that is going to make Claire come in to the gym. And in a shock to probably pretty much everybody, we are getting sub 50 minutes Claire with CORSOLA. Once again, the timer has gone a little bit rogue there, but I make that about 48 minutes and 30 seconds for the Claire split. I need to actually fix a couple of bits with the timer. It is all self-coded, and I've realised that my hotkeys for doing splits manually overlap with numbers that I use to put all of the videos together because I number each clip so I know what order to put them in. So yeah, I think the two together are having a little bit of a fight, so certain numbers are causing erroneous splits on the board. But now that we have defeated Claire, we are able to get ourselves through to the Pokemon League. And now, on the way up to the League, I am taking on a couple of trainers that I normally wouldn't take on, mostly so that we can try and get as much experience as possible, because I want to try and save the rare candies for Red. I think the Red fight is where the rare candies really are going to come into their own. So we're going to be doing it in a kind of a classic way, but that does mean that we're not going to be able to rare candy for Karen, and Karen, of course, can be a little bit of a question mark in these challenges. So we will take on just a couple of extra trainers, take full advantage of still being in the fast experience group. And now we can get our badges checked and make our way through Victory Road, where there's only one obstacle between us and the League. Now it is, of course, the final rival battle. This time he's going to lead with Sneasel, and we'll surf it away. No, we won't. We'll surf on the Magneton instead, because he's decided to switch again. Ice Beam should one-shot the Meganium. We are level 56 now, so there was really no doubt of that. We do outspeed the Haunter, either naturally or via the Quick Claw. Kadabra comes in and goes away straight away, and that brings us on to Golbat. Golbat's a one-shot with Surf, and I think it's going to be a one-shot with Surf on the Sneasel as well. That was a very, very quick and easy final rival battle. Let us now head into the Pokemon League where we'll do a very quick PP heal. We will go and grab ourselves some full restores, and we will then park ourselves in front of the league to take a look at our stats. And we are shaping up like this. We're level 56 with 161 HP, holding the Quick Claw with Surf, Psychic, Earthquake and Ice Beam. Those are the 4 moves we chose at the start of this challenge. 108 in attack, 141 in defense, 120 in special attack, 140 in special defense, but just 79 in speed. Now don't forget, those are just the out of battle stats. We will get a big buff in battle when we face Will. Before we take on Will though, I am going to make some predictions for the league, and I think this one might be a bit of a toughie, you know. Our lack of speed really is going to come into play here. We're probably going to have to hold on to a pair of bitter berries for both Will and Karen, try and get through without hitting ourselves in confusion too much. Bruno could still be difficult, even though we do have Psychic and Earthquake. I reckon, though, Koga is going to be a bit of a freebie, and I reckon Lance as well won't prove to be too problematic. We've got counters for both of them fairly easily. So let's now equip that bitter berry before we forget. And we will go into the league where Will is our first league member. He is a Psychic type specialist, and he's going to lead with Xatu. Now, he goes straight for Psychic, which is good for us because it means we can save the berry for the second Xatu, which also has Confuse Ray. We will use an Ice Beam against the Executor there, and we'll move on to Earthquake for the Slowbro. He went for Amnesia, which does give us the 4-shot against the Slowbro as opposed to possibly a 5-shot, goodness me. Words are difficult in this league. We will get rid of the Jinx, and then I reckon an Ice Beam will see us through the Xatu. And we didn't end up being confused throughout the course of that battle, so it was all meaningless in the end. We did get through Koga though, and we can move our way on to Will. No, we can't. We'll do it the other way around. We've got through Will, and we'll move on to Koga. Goodness me. Poison type specialist leads with a very wet Ariados. We knock it out in 1 shot. Here comes Fortress. Do we get the 1 shot against it? Not quite, but a nice 2-shot there. Maybe the Mystic Water would have helped out there. Probably going to be a 2-shot on the Muck as well, as it minimalizes. Yeah, 2-shot. Once again, I think this is where our low stats are coming into the equation just a little bit. But we can brute force our way through this league if we have to. We'll Psychic the Venomoth and we defeat Koga. Time of 54-13 for Koga. Now this is the one I'm quite worried about, because I think Bruno could be fairly tricky. He leads with Hitmontop, which doesn't have a fighting type move. We'll use Psychic against it and we do 1-shot. That is brilliant. We 1-shot the Hitmonlee as well. Up next is Hitmonchan. We're going to take guaranteed damage from the Hitmonchan, but we once again knock it out in 1. I don't think we're going to be able to 1-shot this Machamp though, so we are at the mercy of a cross chop. It has crit and it's knocked us out. Unfortunately, not much we can do there. That is just a little bit of bad luck. At least though, we know that if we don't get crit by cross chop, we're in with a very good chance of getting through. Mach Punch hasn't crit. We are on 135 for the Machamp. Will he get a repeat of last time? Let us find out. Cross Chop connects, and once again it's a crit. We're at the mercy of the RNG, unfortunately. I don't even think a Gold Berry or anything would help here, because it wouldn't get into activation range. We've just got to brute force this and hope for the best. We were overdue a fairly tricky battle, and I don't think it is shameful in the slightest to be struggling against this Machamp. There we go, he's into Healing Loop territory. That does mean we can now finish off that Machamp. We'll sort to Surf the Onix, and we get through. That wasn't as bad as it could have been. Only 90 seconds for the Bruno split there, time of 55-42 in total. Now, as for Karen, I am going to try and not use the rare candies here, but if we have to, we have to. Let's see how we get on. She leads with Umbreon. Umbreon's gone for Sand Attack. I did forget to pick up the HP up in Victory Road, which is annoying rather than anything else. We're through the Vileplume though, that is one of the big threats gone. Gengar is scary, we'll use Psychic. We've missed. Are we going to get Destiny Bonded? No, we're going to get Paralysed. Bloody hell. Still not in complete danger, although that is now becoming even close to complete danger, and we get knocked out. Just duff RNG again, unfortunately. Surf is likely going to be terrible there. Don't know what I was going to say, but that was just not a good start to the battle. Sand attack has failed. We got the high roll. Should be easy street, maybe. We get through the Vile Plume. Our accuracy isn't dropped, so even if we are cursed, we don't need to worry. We didn't get paralysed. I think this is the one for Karen. Rare candies wouldn't have helped here at all because we are one-shotting all of her Pokemon. So it was just about the RNG, because even with that Umbreon being a 2 or 3 shot, she would have still got a sand attack off either way. Now, I am going to use just a couple of ethers there and let us use a full restore if I can find them in the bag. And we will take on Lance. Lance is, of course, a liar with the Flyers, and the game doesn't want us to battle him because we got the repel message. He does lead with Gyarados. Gyarados is probably the biggest threat, barring maybe the speed of his Aerodactyl. We do have very good type matchups for this battle though, and we do outspeed the Dragonite. So we can one-shot both of the 47s with an Ice Beam, and that does mean we're not getting paralysed by them at the very least. Outrage hits. We didn't outspeed that last Dragonite. We're on 84 HP for the rest of the battle. We'll swap to Surf. Flamethrower does nothing. It's all going to be about the flinches. If Scarodactyl flinches, or crits, or both, bloody hell, the RNG! It's being mean. It's genuinely being mean at this point. We've had 3 battles which we could have first timed, but the game has said no, I will take the L there. That was my mistake swapping to Surf. We'll swap back to Ice Beam now for the Dragonite and hope that the HP there did not mean anything. A crit into a double flinch. It's just nonsense, isn't it? We'll stick on to Ice Beam now as Aerodactyl comes out earlier this time. Here comes the next Dragonite. Outrage has connected. I think we might be okay now, although I don't want to say anything until we do connect with the Surf. We are through, Lance. We should have been through a little bit quicker, but nothing too bad about that. 58 minutes and 53 seconds. We do have sub-hour league with our CORSOLA. Of course, we do have to get our final Hall of Fame time for this challenge as well. And we are clocking in at 59 minutes and 8 seconds. With that, let's now take a look at the midpoint leaderboard. And on our 4 moves midpoint leaderboard, we're in 4th place. That is not bad at all, just a second ahead there of Beedrill, and just a couple of minutes slower than Stansler. What about on our overall leaderboard for Pokémon Crystal? That's a Celebi. Should we try that again with the actual leaderboard this time? We are in a very, very respectable 59th place. Goodness me, only a few seconds behind Suicune. Of course, not a direct like-for-like comparison because Suicune did have to earn its moves, whereas we did give CORSOLA the moves at the beginning of the challenge. I do like, though, having both sets of leaderboards at the end of each challenge, both here at the midpoint and the end, actually. And now, as this leaderboard plays through, I will remind you that this is only half of the story because we still have another 8 gym badges plus the red fight left to come. So don't you dare go anywhere, because Kanto is next. And we are rejoining the action as we always do here in Vermilion City, where we're going to go and grab a rare candy from the chairman of the Pokemon Fan Club. With that safely tucked away in our bag for another challenge, I think we are going to try our standard Cantonia routing for this challenge. We aren't going to be outspeeding most of the Pokemon anyway, so it's probably going to be much of a muchness. So we're going to start here at Lieutenant Surge. Now, if you were eagle-eyed on the leaderboard, you will have noticed that our first ever CORSOLA challenge was in 172nd place with a 151.45 through the league. So we have definitely saved a lot of time compared to our original CORSOLA challenge. Of course, we can't completely compare these two as like for like, because one of them is with our moves being learnt all the way up, and the other is with our moves being given to us at the very beginning of this challenge. We're through the dangerous Pokemon here at Surge though now, and we have defeated him. And we get our first Cantonian badge, the Thunder Badge, in 102.17. It's safe to say we're not going to be breaking any records with CORSOLA, but there's a certain subsection of Pokemon who will never ever break records compared to some of the stronger Pokemon, but they can still put in a bloody good effort. And I think CORSOLA is absolutely a prime example of one of those Pokemon. We are competing against CORSOLA's former self in the 3 challenges, I believe, we have done together with CORSOLA and Crystal on the channel before. 2 of them were our standard challenges. We had 1 egg move challenge, and now we have our 4 moves challenge as well. CORSOLA I don't think will be a Pokemon that we'll do Supermon in a hurry, but I reckon, you know, with enough time and patience, we could probably get CORSOLA fairly far. It won't be a first attempt unless we get very lucky, but even in Supermon, CORSOLA can hold its own. The learn set on this Pokemon, at least once you've got access to all of the moves, it isn't bad at all, actually. We've got a lot of diversity, and I think that is CORSOLA's strength. Let us now take on Erica. She is our second Cantonian leader. She does have a quad-type advantage over us, so we're just going to hope that we outspeed everything because she's got a fairly slow team. We one-shot the Tangler. Here comes the Victory Bell once again. We one-shot it, and up next is going to be Blossom. We outspeed, we get rid of it in 1 hit. We grow to 64, and the last Pokemon is Jumpluff. Jumpluff isn't known for being a particularly useful Pokemon, really, when it comes to offensive capabilities, and we do get the Rainbow Badge in 103.53. That means we can make our way down Cycling Road next. Cycling Road is the quick way to find Janine, goodness me. Just clipped the grass there, and the movement's gone absolutely terrible. This is a slow way to get to Janine. Nobody should go down Cycling Road, especially if your movement's as bad as me. I'm going to blame the fact that it is -8, -9 outside, and I'm right next to a window, so I'm actually pretty nippy as I'm recording this. Let us now take on Janine, and we will see what happens. She leads with Crobat. Crobat did have Confuse Ray, but we were still holding on to that Bitterberry. It was a conscious choice to hold on to the Bitterberry throughout, because I had a feeling she'd try and confuse us, and now we should hopefully sweep the rest of the team. Her Crobat really was the only dangerous Pokemon there because of its very large speed stat. Soul Badge acquired. How much time did we lose? Only a couple of seconds with that duff movement. That's nothing. Throughout the course of a challenge, we can now get out of here and make our way back to Saffron, where I've got to contend with Rock Tunnel. And considering I'm playing and moving like this, I'll skip ahead to when we're outside. As is always the way, when I'm not recording and when I'm not streaming, I have a very, very clean Rock Tunnel. That was one of the best movements I've done in a very, very long time. We do a quick heal there at the Pokemon Center as well, and we will have a little chat with the bloke here in the power plant. He is very, very annoyed that somebody has stolen his machine part, although with all these people here, you've got to wonder, are any of them in cahoots? We've got no time for speculation at the moment, though, because we're going to go all the way back to Saffron City, where we are going to enter into our next gym together. Now, this is Sabrina's Psychic-type gym. This could be a little bit tricky, you know, because of how quick some of her Pokemon are. We do outspeed the Espeon, though, and we crit to one-shot it straight away. Mr. Mime comes out, and no, it's not a one-shot there, but a nice two-shot nonetheless. Here comes Alakazam, and there goes Alakazam. So Sabrina could not withstand the power of our little Coral this time, and we get through in a time of 106.29. That means we can head north, and we're about to do everyone's favourite part of this challenge, because it's time for yet another Nugget Bridge. And now in this Nugget Bridge section, I want to look forward to 2026. It's kind of a big year mentally for me, because 2006 is now 20 years ago, and that was the year when I really started figuring out who I am as a person, what my personality was actually like, and developing into the person I am today. And goodness me, it does not feel like 20 years ago. It's also the time where I started really trying to change myself, because I wasn't happy with who I was in the early years of secondary school, and definitely started adapting and becoming more aware of what wasn't particularly pleasant about me, and part of that was actually changing the complete way I talk. This voice that I have now is one that I worked on for a very long time in the late 2000s, those late 80s years. So it's been kind of weird. I've been letting the mask slip a little bit and going back to the voice which I used to have a little bit earlier when I were a kid, and I used to be a little bit more relaxed and a little bit like this. So you never know, by the end of the year, I might be talking like this pretty much full time. I'm not going to do it anymore now, because it feels weird talking into a microphone and having a kind of semi-natural Lancashire voice coming back through, but you never know. Part of what I want to do this year is try and chip away at parts of the masking which aren't needed anymore, because it is very much, or at least for me anyway, it was very much a defence mechanism to get me through the social nightmare that was school. I did not have a great time in school, and now I am in a place where I'm very, very happy with people I love and in a very safe place. With that, on that positive note, should we take on Misty? I don't think we're going to have a great time against Misty, but we will do our best. We can get through the Golduck. Our Psychic is disabled no more. We'll get rid of the Quagsire. Here comes the Starmie. Starmie's going to use Surf. Let us use a pair or maybe even a trio of Earthquake. Could be a quad of Earthquake. No, a trio. She can't stall forever. And then I reckon Psychic's going to be our best move against this Lapras. A bit of a scrappy battle there, but we did get the victory in the end. Cascade Badge in 109.15. I've already picked up the machine parts, so we will leave. We'll do a very quick heal here in the Route 10 Pokémon Center, and we will move on up. Now, back to that masking. It is weird to think that my voice now, and the one that I've used my entire adult life, isn't the voice I started with. I know a lot of people do go through accent and enunciation training when you go into broadcasting. I never did any of that. I just ended up doing it naturally myself. But it is one of those things that plays on your mind. And I do want to say it's not ever been a thing of trying to be fake or trying to be somebody different. It's just I wanted to sound as good as possible and as easy to understand as possible for as many people as possible, because I knew I wanted to try and get into some kind of broadcast entertainment industry. And then in 2009 I was very lucky to get a chance at the casino, and the rest, as they say, is history. Let us now enter into Pewter City, where we have another gym leader waiting for us, but he does have one gym trainer guarding him. This is Camper Liam. He is standing in for Camper Jerry. No, it's the other way around. This is Camper Jerry standing in for Camper Liam. We'll be seeing Camper Liam in a few videos' time, though. Let us now take on Brock. This should be a very easy battle. We've got super effective for all of his Pokemon. So we'll use Surf against the rock grounds, and then we'll have a little think. Do we want to try a Surf? We risk it, and we one-shot, growing up to 68 there. And we can get rid of the Onix as well. Very good stuff there. Boulder Badge acquired in 110.59. Let us get out of here, and we'll keep on going further south. We don't want to battle you today, 3Drill. We're against the clock. Next Supermon, though, we'll have a little sparring match again. How does that sound? Now, here in Viridian, I'm going to try and do the quicker movement. It's going to take a little bit of time to get used to. But once you get the reflex with the bag movement there, that is slightly quicker than cycling down and dipping into the Pokémon Center. There are a few little efficiencies like that that I do need to work on to try and get them ingrained into muscle memory. That is one of the things with going against the clock. There's so much stuff that you have to ingrain and then change in your muscle memory that it does get trickier, actually, the more and more that I try and do. We have now one gym leader left before we take on Blue. This is Blaine, our penultimate leader. He leads with Macargo, and it goes away. No real doubt there. We get rid of the Bumhead Fireduck, and that brings us on to Rapidash. Rapidash outspeeds it, attacks us furiously, but there's nothing more Blaine can do. And we obtain the Volcano Badge in 112.09. Let's get ourselves back to Viridian City now, where we have just one more gym leader left to go. I've swapped to the leftovers for this battle. I think that will be the most helpful item, and we'll now engage Blue in battle. He leads with Pidgeot. Pidgeot goes for Wing Attack. We've got Ice Beam, we can one-shot it, and up next is Executor. Are we going to one-shot the Executor? The answer is yes. We grow up to a very nice level there as our speed finally crosses the 100 threshold. Now, what should we do about this Alakazam? I reckon Earthquake is going to be our best choice here. Much like the Starmie, he gets caught in a semi-healing loop. When we go onto the Rhydon, we will use a Surf, one-shot it away, gain some more HP back. I think it's going to be a 3-shot either way with this Gyarados, so we're going to go for a Hydro Pump here. No, he's going to go for Hydro Pump, we're going to go for Ice Beam. Fishing for a freeze that doesn't happen, and he's crit, goodness me. If Extreme Speed doesn't knock out, we get the win. He didn't see the KO, so we do get the win. And we defeat Blue in a time of 1:13.28. That was a bit touch and thingy bob at the end there, wasn't it? Once again, we had another nasty critical hit that could have caused a reset. But we do now have all 16 of our gym badges acquired. That means we can have a little chat with Professor Oak. He's going to complain that we've only caught one Pokémon, but he does not know that we are on a mission to defeat Red as quickly as we can. We'll do a very quick heal here in the Pokémon Center in Viridian. We'll stick on a Repel, and now we can think about what we want to do for Red. We will have 10 rare candies at our disposal, so we'll be able to get all the way up to level 79. We're going to dip into this Pokémon Center, and we'll go and grab our final rare candy just this side of Silver Cave. Now, I am going to very quickly check. We are very, very close to another level, so I think we should keep the Repel off and try and get one encounter, maybe two here, to get ourselves up to level 70, so that we can be at level 80 for the Red battle. There we go, we are now at level 70. I'll make my way through this cave, I'll use the rare candies, and then we'll rejoin when we're ready for Red. And we have made it through the Dark Room in Silver Cave, and we are in front of Red. No matter what happens now, CORSOLA has had a very good run up until this point. Let's take on Red and see how we get on. We one-shot the Pikachu. Up next is going to be Espeon. Espeon's hitting us fairly hard with a Psychic, but we are able to two-shot it. Up next is going to be Venusaur. Right, Venusaur does outspeed. That is terrifying. And Solar Beam knocks us out. I think this one might be a little bit about the luck, you know. We don't really need to worry about our physical attack, so I'm not that bothered by Charm hitting us. I think the big issue here is our speed. We might end up having to swap to the Quick Claw, you never know. We are looking for a lucky freeze here on the Venusaur, or a crit. Either of those will be the win condition. I have a feeling, you know, this one could be one of those where I'm here for a while, so we might end up having to go to a voiceover in post for this battle, just because I don't want to keep you all hanging on doing the exact same strategy over and over again until we eventually get the luck that we need. We're through the Venusaur now, though. What about this Snorlax? A freeze would be brilliant here. Let's see what happens. We don't get the freeze on turn 1. We get a crit on turn 2, though. That is not the worst, and we've frozen the Snorlax. This is good. I just want to point out, by the way, that the timer does pause when I'm not touching buttons. I've noticed it's been quite prevalent in this battle. I've got my hand on the controller, but I'm not touching buttons because I'm trying to figure out what to do at this point. There's part of me thinking, do we go for something like Psychic to try and stall out a little bit more? Do we risk that? I think we risk that. Let's see. Frozen Solid, that's good. Frozen Solid, that's even better. Frozen Solid, that's perfect. Let us now knock out the Snorlax. We are on to the Blastoise. Now, I think our only option here is to try and get another freeze. That will probably be the only way we can get through. We do have a freeze. That is good. Now, do we try and invest our time wisely into spamming Ice Beam to try and recover as much health as possible? Hopefully we get lucky with the freezes here. I think it's going to be a KO regardless, but we are now back in the green. Are we going to get a miracle? It should be a one-shot against this Charizard. We get through, and we defeat Red in a time of 1:17.27. let us take a look at the leaderboard for CORSOLA. And we are in a very respectable 4th place with CORSOLA on our 4 moves leaderboard. Stantler had a much smoother red fight, so it did overtake us. In the end, of course, it was only 1 second behind us at the midpoint challenge. And now if we take a look at the overall leaderboard, we will see that CORSOLA is in 53rd place. In between Linoon and Scyther's level up challenges there, and I think that is a very, very good time for CORSOLA. I was hoping to get under 1 hour 30 for the first time with CORSOLA, so getting well under 1 hour and 20 minutes is something I can be very, very proud of in this particular challenge. CORSOLA has had a few challenges actually together here on the channel. We finished with a 147.24 as our best one. That was an egg move. We had a 158.45 on a redo stream, and our original video was 250.55. So CORSOLA has improved in leaps and bounds on its 4-move challenge. But with that, we are done. So I really hope you've enjoyed this one. If you have, make sure to leave a like. If you've got any feedback, leave it in the comments down below. Subscribe if you want to see more challenges just like this. And until next time, when we're going to give another Pokemon a challenge through Crystal, I'll say thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you all very, very soon.